made a deal with a guy at about 11 o'clock last night, and we left this morning, and we're in the middle of Indiana. Got about another hour of driving to get there, and we're gonna pick something up. But here's the slug. We'll go over this in a little bit more detail later. It's a little rough, needs some love. Missing a taillight. It does have everything set up pretty much just to pop off. This is all fiberglass. I don't know if you can see all the bars inside there. It does have a full, but it was definitely an adventure for me and my wife to get this off by ourselves, because the tie rods are not hooked up. What I did end up doing was, I don't know if you can see it, I ended up sticking I think it's like a power steering pump bolt, LS power steering pump bolt, through that side. So I was actually able to steer one wheel, and then she just kept that wheel straight, and then we were able to back it off. So that was a treat, and it was raining at the time that we did it. That's what all these fingerprints and handprints and smudges and all this crap is from, because it was raining while we were doing that. I don't know what I want to call this thing yet. Shit stain, banana notch. Some of you guys liked it when I called it the banana notch, but I don't know if I want to keep the color the same. Yeah. I like having these dollies. All right. That's my plan, guys. Give it a swirl. I'll try to do as much of this cage as I can with TIG. I'm almost out of gas though, so I don't know how much I'll be able to get done today with this. That's what I got. Now I'm just gonna go over the rest of it with the MIG, I think. So we got the old Hobart out, and I'm just gonna go through and kind of slam it together with the rest of it. Subtract 5 cool points, and then we'll do it with the MIG. Okay, she got a 14-second lesson on how to MIG weld. So she's gonna do it. I think
that was bad. I can't see anything. I see Christmas.
You gotta move really slow. Do the same thing, polish it and weld it back into place. And what I'm doing now is I'm mocking up some cardboard for these rails. And there's a lot of extra metal that was cut away, so I'm basically just gonna kind of put some metal back in and tie it back into the bars. So just mocked up some pieces. So I got 2 pieces here, test fitted in there. Basically I'm just gonna weld this strut tower back to the bar. I did weld on the bottom side, so so that should be okay. But kind of got to add a little gusset inside there. Completely all the way around. I'm kind of proud of this piece right here. I like that one. That one fit really nice. And then this over the top here, you can see I did a big plate on the bottom. While we're here and I'm already yapping, I did do some other work the other day. Found some other interesting things. So I should just take the wheel off. I'm going to do that. I'll take the wheel off and I'll show you what I got going on. All right, so back over to this side. Is know when I picked it up, if you've been watching, that it didn't have the rotors on, it didn't have the caliper on. The caliper was hanging there, but no rotor. Everything was just kind of loose hanging here. The steering linkage was all messed up. So the other day I went and got all the hardware that I needed to finish bolting up the rotor. And I know these things are a little bit weathered, but you can tell as I've been spinning it, it's starting to kind of scuff off the rust scale and stuff. I mean, the pads, yeah, you know, honestly, this stuff could probably be replaced, but I'm sure if we put a few miles on it, it'll figure itself out and it'll probably be good for a while. I figured some stuff out. I'll go over what I can, and to me it's very interesting. I ended up finding the original builder of the car. The one who basically originally turned it into the animal that it was, so that put the cage in it, that got the NHRA certification on the cage, that put it in the 8s. He said that the fastest ET with the car that he had when he had it was 848, and that was in 2006. And it has a fender. And it's mounted. You can see that? I just shook the whole car with the fender, and it's on there. It's on there pretty decent. Ha! See, it's really good. I just kicked it pretty hard. You gonna fix it? Mm-hmm. What'd you do? You fixing it?
That go on there?
Yeah, it goes on there. Put it on the right way. Put it on the right way.
And that one?
No, that's the wrong way. Put it on the right way.
That way?
There you go. Yeah. Figure out how I'm going to get this fuel cell in the trunk. So I was just messing with it for probably 20 minutes. Got this thing on its way out. I do have a couple broken exhaust studs, so I'll have to do the whole welder washer on and get the crap out of there. My MIG welder is out of gas though after the welding I was doing yesterday, so might actually have a problem with that welder because I just filled that bottle and now it's empty, so I wonder if the valve is sticking or something. But we're gonna take the mustard here and put some turbies on it. So I got one of the GT45s here and started to cut up the exhaust manifold. So got the factory truck manifolds. We're just going to do it as cheaply as we can here for now. But what I did, this is about how the factory manifold looks. So what I'm going to do here is I want this to come up. So I'm going to flip it over like this. So I cut a little extra section out. So I'm going to cut it and flip it up like this, and that way we have a nice little bend coming out. And I like to do this a lot with these manifolds. They do have a lot of good bends in them. Here it is. The twin turbos. I'm calling them the back wurbos because they're backwards. Turbos, back wurbos. Get it? Yeah, that's hilarious. Got the turbos on. Some of you guys saw the picture. I do have the turbos on this way, and it's a nice straight shot right down to the intercooler piping. So that'll be nice and easy. I did go with the pie cuts just because I didn't want to pay for the bends, because locally they're like 40 bucks a piece. So whereas the whole 7-foot section is like $30. So just pie cut it. Takes a little bit longer. I did end up TIGging this all together and started with the TIG. I originally started with the MIG, but then ran out of wire. So switched over to TIG, and I just got to finish weld all that, then I can start on the cold side. I did cut the power steering pump off. Wastegates are on. Wastegates are on. Cut the power steering pump off, and then the plan with the belt is to just try this and go over, under, over, around the crank pulley, and then back up. So I just want to try that. Should work. In my brain it works, but we'll see what happens after that. Wire harness is already made because it was the one I had for the 350Z, so that shouldn't be complicated. Then I got to do fuel system. I did cut the fenders out. See that? See how well you did? You want to do it by yourself now? Okay. How does that look? Yeah, that looks pretty good. I just keep trying to move down over to this spot and then fill in those cracks. So this radiator, look at the radiator, guys. I have a radiator in here. So I said I needed to buy a radiator. So a guy I work with races UTVs, or those little like two-seater four-wheeler things, side-by-sides, whatever you want to call them. So he races those regularly. It's becoming a pretty big thing now. And he races those, and he bought this for his UTV, and I don't know what it's from. It's like a 60-something Mustang, he said. But he bought this and then just had it sitting around as like a spare or something. And I was just talking about the Mustang when we were shooting the breeze at work the other day. And I'm like, oh, I got to go buy a radiator tonight. And he's like, oh, I have one. I'm like, well, what kind is it? So he sent it to me. So it's actually next day now. I spent quite a bit of time last night adding some other stuff. So I did add the pie cuts all the way around here. This whole section was just out of the scrap pile. And I just was using that for a practice piece. I think that was like the first pie cut piece that I ever tried to do, and then I just didn't like it, so I had it in the scrap pile. Pulled that out, added a couple other pieces, and I extended this section here because I didn't want to put a coupler there because the exhaust is there. So I just cut it and then extended it out a little bit longer. So I'm going to put the cam in now. This is the BTR Stage 3 Twin Turbo Cam. And I'm just going to use some Lucas Oil Assembly Lube. You can use a tool. A lot of times I've been able to get them without even using the tool. Yeah, so there, I didn't even use the screwdriver that I had in there, so that should be just fine. Alright guys, so welcome back. Getting a little bit farther on the cart. I did get everything pretty much kind of bolted into its final resting place. Even though I don't have all 4 bolts in on the intercooler, it is pretty sturdy. It'll move the whole car. Just left the bottom ones open. So you can see I also did the black. I repainted all this. It was gray primer before. Now it's all a semi-gloss black. So it's not perfect, it's not great, but it doesn't really look terrible. The strut tower, right? And then I was going to bolt it on. Like, oh, that sounds really cool. And then I decided, because I didn't have any bolts that were the right diameter, and then I was going to use like a metal tie to just tie it on, and I couldn't really get it tight and didn't really feel like messing with it. So what I'm going to do is weld it on. Let's try that. Kind of essentially what it's going to be. And then I do have the fuel pump, and I'm probably just going to take the fuel pump and mount it underneath somewhere over here.
Do it, Dad. Do it. I know you can do it. Good job. Yay!
So what I'm going to do now is, I don't know if it's in the spot that I want it in, but I'm going to put a plate over the bottom. I picked up a solid sheet of metal that's going to fill this whole section. So we'll start with probably cutting that thing, get that to fit. But that's how this is going to go, and then I'll probably just rivet it down and put some goop in around there or something and be done with it. Alright guys, so made some progress here. I tried to get a little creative and challenge myself a little bit, so I made this actually come up and over because it was hitting the outfeed on the fuel cell. So try to do my best TIG welding that. This is 22 gauge, so this is really thin stuff, so I was kind of really struggling with that, and I had it on like 15 amps, something like really low that I was doing, and I tried to do like pulse welding and stuff just because it was blowing through a lot of it. So you can see that there's like some weld and then a booger in the middle of it. As the booger was a hole, you can even see a little hole up there. So the top wasn't too bad, but I just kind of gave up on it after a little while. On the bottom side, you'll see that. Let's put the transcooler up like this, create, you know, probably like a 2-inch gap. So there is some airflow on the top because I'm going to put a fan on it. And then I'm just going to take some brackets and then weld the brackets on. That should be all done. These are welded into place. Fuel pump is in and mounted. I will take everything apart again and then probably throw some black paint on it. But now what I'm going to do is get the transmission cooler brackets done. Bolt the fender on. A lot of it is very small stuff. Bolt the diff on, diff cover on. A lot of the stuff is very small yet that I have to do. So what I've done so far, or over the last couple days, I put the bump steer kit on. So before I was having an issue where it was poked way out. It was like 2 inches out too far, or an inch or whatever. So I used a 9/16 18 thread per inch die, fine thread, and cut 2.5 inches of thread onto the tie rod. So this is all here. This is all new thread that I cut with the die, and then I chopped the end of it off. So this was on here on the end, sticking out way too far. Cut 2.5 inches of new thread, and then chopped 2 inches off the end of it. Just kind of just looking at making sure steering wheel is in the right spot. I'm not hitting the top very easily. Like if I sit normally, I'm not like pressed into the bar. Making sure the pedals go all the way down good. That's fine. Shifter's in a good spot for shifting. I did make sure that I could put it back into park with one hand because I can't reach the reverse lockout. So I did make sure that I do have the ability to actually push the reverse lockout lever forward. A lot of different stuff. So, and then the coolest part about it is after you get done crashing and rolling over and the car's on fire, you can just pop it out and get out of the car really quick with a little twist like that. So that was kind of what we spent a lot of time doing today. So that's about it. A micro squirt. So as I said, some of you guys probably saw this opened already. This was the micro that Matt Happel from Slappy Mechanics opened up the other day on his mail time video. So we were talking the other day, and I just sent him a picture of the car and said like I was almost ready to get this thing fired up and said I was doing wiring, and he's like, hey, do you want to test the micro? So sent me the micro squirt that he just got from EFI Source. This is the one that does the idle air control and alternator control. This is all copper wire. This is welding wire. And a lot of this stuff I just had extra just laying around. As you guys, a lot of you guys know, I was a old stereo guy back in the day. So I have a lot of wiring left over. Lots of wiring. So it's kind of easy to go a little overboard on wiring because I just have a bunch of stuff laying around still. So this is coming from the battery in the back, the copper welding wire going back, and then this one goes to starter. Have them both hook up to alternator. Coming back around to this side, this goes back in to the battery in the back, and then I have the wires going back down to the starter. So I got the little skinny boy here, and then I got the big guy going down, and I do have this set up on a spark plug and a noid light on the injector because I want to check the spark and injector pulse with the noid light with the light off, and that is welded right into the frame of the vehicle. I think I already showed you guys the 80 amp fuel pump relay that I'm using. It's very excessive. Very excessive for what I'm doing with it, the Stinger 80 amp, but it's what I had sitting on the shelf that I haven't used for like 7 years. It's been sitting there, so I'm going to use that. Did get new battery and new terminals, so that's all good. I decided to pick up this like Marine deep cycle battery because it had the threaded post on there. I like the threaded post and the ability to use like a regular post. So did a lot of that. Got a lot of powers and grounds coming off. There's like a 12 volt constant that I have going to the micro squirt, and some grounds coming back for everything. And I did send another power up to the front for the ignition relay. So kind of taped everything together. So that works. And then now I'm going to show you guys I'm making a video, and now I'll show you guys that the spark and the injector pulse is working. Okay guys, so I'm gonna set the camera down and I'll show you spark plug here. You can see, look in there for the spark, and then you'll see the noid light. I'm gonna shut the light off.
Show me your battle wound.
Don't look at my gut. I can't strut with my gut. And I'm just kind of trying to evaluate because this is probably going to be temporary. I don't know how long I'm going to keep this set up. I just kind of wanted to do it because it was cool and the cages fit in there almost perfect. Just took a little bit of a burr bit on the inside and I bent them in. So this switch I probably want to use as like a manual keep the fan on all the time switch when the vehicle's not running, just to cool stuff down. And this is going to be the ignition switch here. So ignition switch and then the start switch. So you can see it doesn't work now because I have the kill switch off in the back. So I'll go turn that on and then we'll check it out and see what it looks like. All right, so kill switch is back on. This will be ignition power. See, everything turns on, and then this isn't hooked up at all. And then we have the arcade button that Matt sent. So still needs the tune work, but that's what it looks like for now. It just makes this rumbling noise. I don't know what it means. Guys, welcome back. So today we're going to go for a little bit of a drive, and I'm going to take the laptop with me. We're going to try to do some tuning. Union Grove, Wisconsin. Last time I checked, it's 27 degrees right now with the wind chill, so I'm sure the track is going to be terrible. There is snow on the ground, because that's how Wisconsin works. There's snow everywhere, but we really just want to get it out to the track, so I'm setting the bar very low today. I have no expectations, no time, so you guys that think you're going to see an 8-second pass today, that's not going to happen. I'm just going to be happy if I get it on the track, and I'll be thrilled if I make a pass at all. So well, guys, it was a rough day. Shit, guys, I'm having a rough day. So, the dipstick for the transmission flew out. And we got shit all over the place. And it dropped on the manifold. It started on fire. Actually, I ripped my sweatshirt off, and I put the fire out with my sweatshirt. The dipstick, it's a locking dipstick, but it popped out, and it was just hanging there like this. So that was a close call. That sucked.
You know what I'm saying? You
Yep.
could still stand this up a little bit more with a degree of timing, probably. You know what I'm saying? You could add a degree right here to bring this up, so it's not kind of falling off like
Right.
that. But I also feel like something, I don't know. You have a pretty short power window, which kind of sucks.
Yeah. So, what was the final number?
526 it made.
26? Yeah, 26. And the orange one.
Yeah.
Okay. That was like 14 pounds, like 14 or 15 degrees of timing. 524.
526, whatever.
26. And a lot of lessons learned.
Yeah. Not really 100% dialed in yet, obviously. Like, you haven't really put. I mean, it's on 15 degrees, like you said.
Yeah.
It's, the fueling is so sporadic on this thing. I don't know if it's lean or if it's rich or if the gauge is lying to us. Like,
Right, so what we're seeing is basically 5,800 at 6,000 and above. It would just nose over to like a 10.0, 10.7.
yeah. Yet
no matter
the fuel
what we
map
did.
was the same number from 5 to 7,000.
Right, and we pulled like 30% out of it,
Yeah, something crazy.
and it was still doing the same exact thing.
Yeah.
So